Our pick is in Miami Dolphins fans, and with that selection, number 21 overall. In the 2024 NFL Draft, yes, the Miami Dolphins select edge rusher Chop Robinson out of Penn State. Now, we're going to jump all into this selection, but before I do, I just want to start by saying the dream was there. The dream almost came true. And if you watched my prediction video, basically any draft related videos we did leading up to tonight in the NFL draft, it was, man, if you can stay put, if you can get that impact offensive lineman at number 21, one of those guys that could potentially slide in and start at right guard from day one, maybe move over to left tackle already in year two. That was Troy Fautanu. And we saw Troy Fautanu go one pick before us, number 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So right after that happens, I got this feeling of that I was going to be automatically disappointed with the pick that we made at 21. Part of me is like, you know what? Let's trade back. Let's try to get some capital in this deep draft. Still try to get an impact guy, late round one, early round two, whatever pick we could have potentially traded for. Obviously, that doesn't come to fruition. So I don't want to downplay the selection of Chop Robinson. I'm actually going to talk about it. I'm a big Chop Robinson fan. We'll talk all about that in a second. But before we dive into tonight's action, got to hear from you. Your thoughts on the pick, Miami Dolphins selecting Chop Robinson, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Because I talk about the good things with Chop Robinson. We actually just did the edge rusher preview video leading up to the draft here. And Chop Robinson came in as my number 2 edge rusher in that video. Now, that came with a caveat. I didn't even rank Dallas Turner because I didn't think he would be a potential pick for us. So I was Latu and I was Chop Robinson, and then I went verse, I believe is my order. Dallas Turner would have been higher than them. So no, Robinson wasn't my number 2 overall. I just thought I thought Dallas Turner was a top 10 pick. He went somewhere in the teens as well. Regardless, I'm high on Chop Robinson. I love so many things about him. You talk about guys that are getting quick bursts off the snap. Chop Robinson is a sprinter that pops when he hears that gun go off. It is absolutely incredible to watch this guy. Pairing that with the bend that he comes around the edge, it is edge rusher porn. If you want to go ahead and put it out that way, that guy, what he does off the snap with that bend, it is incredible. I don't want to say it's already elite. I think he can even get better at it, but coming out as a first-year player right now, you're not going to get much better from those 2 traits. Dude's super athletic, ran a 4.48 at the NFL Combine. Where some of the concerns come in, he's a little bit raw. I don't think he has the overall pass rushing package that you get from a guy like Latu. That was my guy. I said how he's got a plan when he rushes the passer. He's got an array of moves. He's great with his hands. He stole Chop Robinson's name basically because the way he chops with those hands. Chop Robinson isn't that guy right now. Chop Robinson wins quite often on speed. He wins on that athleticism. He wins off that burst and that ability to get around the edge. Now, I do like his bull rush. There's not as much tape of it, but I just think overall, you got a guy that's going to want to hone in on this craft. The nice thing, you got some guys. You got a Jaelan Phillips. You got Bradley Chubb. You got Shaq Barrett. You've got some guys that you can learn from. Now, not all those guys are healthy. It's going to take a little while, but you can still learn from those guys. But yes, overall, I'm pleased with this tape. He's got decent tape with him being able to set the edge and the run game as well. Like most all edge rushers coming out of college, you're going to need to hone in on that. That's a thing that you're going to need to improve on. He's going to need to improve on that to become an every down edge rusher in the NFL. But man, the one thing that I'll say about Chop Robinson as well as we continue on here is like I've kind of labeled him in some of the comments I've made on these videos as a boom or bust type of prospect, because the boom is there. If he hits that potential, if he continues to develop on those moves, if he can build on the speed, on that bend, you're looking at a guy that should be able to flirt with double-digit sacks, more than that. That potential is absolutely there, but that bust potential is there as well. It absolutely is, because you would like to see more production from what he was able to do in college. I think the 2 years that he was at Penn State, he had 9.5 sacks. He only had 4 last year. A guy with the athletic profile that Chop Robinson has, with the skill set that he has, with that ability to get off the snap, with that ability to bend around the edge, should have had more than 4 sacks. I think he only played in 10 games. So yeah, a sack almost every other game isn't terribly bad. I would just like to see more at the collegiate level. I think he was more than capable of having more statistical production. Now I say that knowing that There's more to this position than just sacks. He's going in there. He's setting up other guys for sacks. He's getting quarterbacks off their spot. That's all good, great, and grand. But at the college level, I just would have liked to see a little bit more production from him in that category. I'll jump that off the thing here real quick. I want to talk about the kind of the way this played out, because that run of players selected from 14 to 20, you had 6 quarterbacks go off the board within the first 12 picks. Quite honestly, it's sort of what we expected. There was a huge percentage chance that there was going to be that many quarterbacks gone before the Miami Dolphins made their pick, which really opens up the board. But then you didn't see any of the cornerbacks go. We hardly saw any defenders go. We hardly saw any defenders go for the longest time. So that run of players selected from 14 to 20, you had Fuaga go, you had Latu go, you had Byron Murphy go, Dallas Turner, Amarius Mims, Jared Verse, Troy Fautanu. Of those, Fuaga was a target of mine. Murphy is a target of mine. Turner was a target of mine. I didn't even expect to be able to be a target of mine. I was okay with Mims going off the board. I had talked about this before. Injury history, 8 career starts, kind of a guy that's locked in at right tackle. Not super appealing to me. I was happy to see him go. But then your next 2 picks are Jared Verse and edge rusher. That's, like I said, I like Chop Robinson and his potential. That's why I had him ranked a little bit higher than Verse. I think most people would have probably taken Verse over Chop Robinson. So you hated to see him go. And then obviously when Fautanu goes as well. So like I said, ideally you trade back. You hopefully you can still land one of your guys, maybe even a guy like Chop Robinson, if you are able to trade back and get some more picks. Because guys that were still on the board, I'm watching right now, the Lions are picking. So I'm not quite sure if they're still on the board now. But at least they were on the board when the Dolphins picked. Graham Barton, Cooper DeJean, Johnny Newton, Jackson Powers Johnson. If you trade out of 21, maybe you get a late first and early second, and you still land one of those guys, I'm feeling pretty good. I'd almost vote for that over just simply having Chop Robinson. But like I said, I'm a huge Chop Robinson supporter. I just think in a perfect world, and you can't predict the draft. We've seen it so far. You can't predict the draft. But in a perfect world, if you're able to trade back and maybe even still get a guy like Chop or one of those guys I mentioned, I think that would have been my preferred way of being able to go. But I tell you what, if we can get healthy at the position of edge rusher, I know the reports so far this offseason regarding Jaelan Phillips, regarding Bradley Chubb have been pretty positive. But at the end of the day, we still don't know. There's a difference between getting healthy and being ahead of schedule and then playing against other NFL type of athletes already potentially in week 1. Regardless, so you got those 2, you got Shaq Barrett, and now you're adding Chop Robinson to the mix. So yeah, I love the position. I love the future of the position. I talked about it in the edge rusher preview video I did. You pair Jaelan Phillips with any of those top tier edge rushers, whether it's Dallas Turner, whether it's Chop Robinson, Latu, Jared Verse, that's great. That's your future. That is a position that you can be excited about moving forward. So, like I said, I was going to be a little bit disappointed once Fautanu came off the board, but you know what? I'm still not completely on board with getting him where we did, Chop Robinson being that. But at the end of the day, we got ourselves an athlete. We got ourselves a player that hopefully can be more of that boom than that bust when it comes to the potential here that we're looking at. I will wrap it right there for the first round, Dolphins fans. We'll be doing this after every single round throughout the NFL draft, though. We'll be recapping all of these picks. And next time, I probably won't even be in a hotel either. I've been watching this one from a hotel here for the first round. I'll be back home on Friday, though, for the second and the third round. But like I said, let's hear from you, your thoughts on what you would have maybe liked to see the Dolphins do with that pick. Are you cool with Chop Robinson? Go ahead, drop any thoughts you have in the comments. We will call it there for today, Miami Dolphins fans. Until next time, fins up.